Good evening. Friday evening comes and the weekend beckons. So I hope this finds you all well. And congratulations to Chris Davis for being first to leave a comment on the stream. Congratulations, Chris. You probably are going to qualify for some kind of reward or award from the stream here. So listen, we're going to talk about some COVID data that I want to share with you. I want to talk about that. Want to talk a little bit about vaccine passports. Want to talk about well, I'm not saying what I think of them, but not all posties seem to be good guys. We're going to talk about that as well. So we've got a concentrated stream to talk you through. So as you start to come into the stream, I just want to, as usual, just say before we get into the topics that I do need you, if you're watching this on Facebook or on Facebook, to make sure you like and share it. If you're watching it on YouTube, share and subscribe. And most important, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any further live streams or videos, which I know happens because those naughty people at YouTube tend to play little games. Please make sure you're still subscribed to the YouTube channel and that you click that notification bell, because YouTube are actively unsubscribing people to my channel. Thanks. All my other social media links are down below. Do make sure you follow me, particularly on Bitchute, where I am going to put up exclusive Bitchute only content. So just make sure you're following me on Bitchute. Yes, Chris, the subscriptions on YouTube have moved down ever since I moved them up. Isn't that a strange thing? How odd. The subscriptions on all the other platforms are going up, though. So let's not worry too much about YouTube, but just make sure, folks, that you're following me on Bitchute. And also, really important, do make sure you give me the thumbs up if you like what you're hearing, you like what you're hearing from others as well. And if you don't, then a small thumbs down, please, at most. But it's important you do these things, by the way, because it lets the algorithms know that you're actually interested in what you're hearing. So if you do all that, and then, of course, last but not least, altnewsmedia.net/donate. Throw a couple of £100 in the hat, and that'll be really much appreciated. So that's the preamble done. Yeah, so let's get to the main meat of the program tonight. And I'm sure I'll just sort of start off with, I'm sure you'll have seen all this news today, which we're going to bring up. So if we just bring up the first piece of story here, and as you can see, if we can just zone in on this here, so you maybe see it a little bit clearer. Yeah, levels of coronavirus are going down in all 4 nations of the UK, says the Office for National Statistics. Well, that's a good thing, obviously. Levels of coronavirus, I assume by that the ONS means PCR stats, PCR, positive PCR cases, but doesn't really clarify that. But it does then go on to say, this is the BBC, I think, the data provides more evidence the lockdown is working to control the virus. Really? Really? Can we see the evidence that suggests that the lockdown is having this effect? We're going to talk about the lockdowns in a second. And the R number, the all-important R number, is now way south of 1. So between 0.7 and 0.9, it says. So the first time since July of last year. Well, that's good news. Can we then end the lockdown right now, given that the infection rate, the R rate, is so low? No, we can't. Isn't that interesting? Oh, hi, Sue. Hi, Ellie. Hi, Harry, Donniger, Aloha. I see all you folks. John, thanks very much for joining the stream. I just say, sorry, I was focusing on what I'm doing. But yeah, so it's all going in the right direction with the R number and whatnot. But we still have to be locked down, and it's still pretty dangerous out there, or so the government suggests. But what I wanted to do with you folks was I wanted to look through a little data. Now, I've done this in other video formats, but I wanted to do it here on the live stream because, of course, data is something, it's very hard to argue with data. You know, I mean, it's either there or it's not. So let's look at, I'm going to put up some stats I've gathered together for you from Euromomo. This is a conglomeration of data from different countries around Europe. I think there's about 20 nations, maybe more, in Euromomo, and they all provide this kind of stuff. So let's just focus here. If we can just zoom, if you look at this, I need to explain what you're looking at here so you fully get it. You see the red dashed line. You see the dashed line, the red dashed line. What that is that's where something becomes statistically significant in terms of all causes mortality. So fundamentally, if it goes above the red line, if it goes, can we just zoom back in and keep it zoomed in, please? If we go above the red line, yeah, it's significant. If it's in the, can you see like there's a gray shaded area? That means it's just average, right? So that's just put in context. And this is looking at England. And as you can see, in England, during the spring of last year, we had a significant statistical peak of all causes mortality. Very significant. You can see it there. You can see the way it kind of went away, and then it came back in the autumn, in the late autumn, winter, and now it's starting to decline again. And you can see at the end, in early 2021, the all causes mortality, which is still significant, folks, is nonetheless about half of what it was back in last March. So, certainly you can tell that no one's denying that there has been a virus which has had an impact, and it's reflected in all causes mortality in England. So can we all see that and all agree on that? Okay, let me show you another part of the UK. And we're going to bring up now the part of the UK that I live in, Northern Ireland. And you will see instantly it doesn't look anything like England, does it? Same virus, same people, more or less, very different. And as you can see here, and I've circled the very beginning of 2021, all causes mortality is now sitting pretty much average, if slightly below average. So fewer people are dying than normal, right? And this is the pandemic, and yet the all causes mortality is factually lower than kind of the average we would expect. And you can see actually, folks, if you go to have a look around about week, if I can show you this here, around about week, I can see this. Can you see this when I do this on the screen? Around about week 17, at the height of the pandemic, week 17, folks, if we can zoom in again, yeah, weeks, oh, we're zoomed in the wrong way. Okay, week 17, here we go. We never actually became statistically significant. Isn't that interesting? And yet, for the last year, thanks, that's brilliant, yeah. For the last, as you can see, look, peak pandemic, it didn't show statistically significant levels of death. And yet, zoom out, and yet, despite all that, we've been locked down for almost a year. Doesn't that make you think it's a bit strange? This COVID's a strange pandemic, isn't it? So statistically significant in England, really not that statistically significant in Northern Ireland at all. That has not stopped the authorities in Northern Ireland giving me all the same lockdown measures that you folk have gone through. But hang on, it's not just Northern Ireland I want to talk about. Oh, no. Let's head north, shall we, to bonny Scotland. And let's have a look at Scottish all causes mortality. And as you can see, yes, look, there was the peak around about week 17. You can see that there, not as pronounced as England, but there was a peak. And then towards the end of 2020, 21, you can see there was an increase, a degree of statistical significance there. Again, way below that of week 17. And so Scotland is like a mini version of England, but not as pronounced. Certainly the peak in week 17 wasn't that pronounced, and the mini peak in week 1 or 2 of 2021 isn't that pronounced. So that's Scotland. And let's not forget my friends in Wales. I do have friends in Wales. Let's look at what was happening in Wales, because again, it's kind of relevant. And well, Wales is strange, very strange. You can see week 17, peak pandemic, when it hit the first time, it didn't really achieve even statistical significance in Wales. But then for some reason, in week 39, 40, there was about a week where it did become significant, and then it's not significant again. So the thing we have, so in Wales, basically, and of course, as you know, Drakeford has had them locked down there with a vengeance. So I just, so let's come out of that and just sort of talk about the fact that the position of COVID, as regards all causes mortality, it's not the same in the four home nations. You know, England has clearly experienced the worst, but then it's the most populous part of the UK, you know, so maybe there's reasons for that. And then if you look at Wales and Northern Ireland, pretty much nothing. And in Scotland, something that was a little bit significant, but not very much. And that's the reality. That is the, Chris Davis says, you've got friends in Wales. Yeah, I didn't say they're Welsh though, Chris Davis. But I haven't said that. I do know Welsh people, some very nice people, actually, I know. So that's a view across the UK. Then I wanted to have another look at something on a pan-European basis. So if we bring up the next slide, look at this, folks. Just study this for a second. This is all causes mortality in the youngest age group, the 0 to 14-year-olds. And you can see it there. You can see at no point in the last, actually, couple of years, starting at 2017, going through to 2021, all causes mortality amongst kids is totally within the normal criteria. And in actual fact, in most of 2021, it was even below that again. As you can see, look at those numbers, look at those troughs. And that's good to see. That means fewer and fewer young people are dying. That's a great thing, in my view. But then, folks, look at the very end. And we've got a very good arrow put in here demonstrating, look, the red dotted line, remember, is significant death. And then the gray area is just average to be expected death. And at the moment, deaths of kids are below that which we expect. Now, that's significant because that relates to something else which is being talked about. And this is really what I want to get to next. So if we bring up the next slide, COVID vaccines for kids are coming, but not for many months. Yes, it turns out Pfizer and Moderna are testing their vaccines on children aged 12 and hope to get results in by the summer. Hi, Richard, by the way. Thanks very much for coming on the stream. Here's the question. Why are they wanting to give vaccines to kids when kids have statistically, based on Euromomo, no statistical weakness as regards the COVID virus, COVID-19? Why are they doing this? You can certainly make a case for potentially the most frail and the most vulnerable. I understand that. I get that. Don't necessarily say I agree with it, but I get that. That's the case. But there's no case for giving a vaccine, inoculating kids who, based on the actual data, remember, this is not opinion, this is scientific data, follow the science and all that, don't have a problem. And yet they're gonna vaccine them. So apparently. And I can just see the British government will no doubt embrace it. And I suspect the British public will embrace it as well. Because, of course, that's the other thing that we see. We see at the moment, there's this national pride in, we vaccinated everybody. We vaccinated more percentage of our people than any other country in the world. And this is beating your chest time. This is, yeah, Britain's done it. We've given more vaccines to more of our people than any other country per capita under God's heaven. But is this, but I'm just not sure that this is exactly something that we should necessarily be shouting about. For example, we have given the most frail, the 75 plus age group, whatever, most of them, I believe, have been given one, if not two injections. But did you notice that the Conservative MP, David Davis, talked about, I think yesterday he sent a tweet out saying he was a bit worried about the fact that tens of thousands of that age group have been dying over the past month or so, despite the fact that they've got the vaccine. Well, we will put the word despite in quotation marks. But David Davis MP seemed a little concerned about that. Naturally, the mainstream media aren't interested. The mainstream media at this point are simply cheerleaders for getting as many vaccines into as many people as possible. So a couple of comments here I want to bring up. Chris says, when will people start dying of old age again, or is aging be cured? Well, that's a very good question. Ellie says, Robin Swan is a disgrace. That's the local health minister here in Northern Ireland. He's a joke, actually, an absolute joke. I completely agree with that, by the way. And then Sue brings a point up, very strange, even stranger, that they don't want us to go on holiday until the countries that we're going to have been vaccinated, but some are still waiting. For how long? We have no idea. Oh, it's very strange. But here's Sue, they've got a solution to it, you see. Here's the solution. Let's bring the next slide up, shall we? Here's what's being sold to you folks as the way out of it all. Tobias Elwood MP, no less than good old Tobias. Oh, the things I could talk to you about concerning Tobias. Tobias says, I support the introduction of vaccine passports, and an internationally recognized system will expedite travel movement and help our economy. Travel should be possible but should require current testing and quarantine measures. We must adapt to these extraordinary times. Let's just leave that there for a second, shall we? Because, Tobias, it's so beguiling, isn't it? Yes, you want people to be given vaccine passports, and you're suggesting that it will make travel easier and in some way help the economy. You see, I got a few questions about that. I put a short video out earlier on today about this. So, you see, the thing, as far as I'm concerned, vaccine passports, they are definitely going to come. Make no doubt about it. You will be, Nick, I agree with you, by the way. Thanks. Just put up a comment here on the stream. Nick says, vaccinating the whole country is nothing to be proud of. Well, particularly, Nick, since the overwhelming part of the country is healthy. And since when did vaccinating the healthy become such a national imperative? But Gary, I agree, you don't want to see vaccine passports, nor do I, by the way. It's absolutely objectionable, tyrannical. But they want to bring them in. And they're bringing them in. They're going to sell it to you on this basis. Get your vaccine. Make sure you get the inoculation. Yeah. Then you'll get your little passport. Then this is where the con comes in. Then, well, it doesn't mean you get to travel. No. No, travel is still going to be extremely restricted. No, that simply means that you then are part of a system that they can control. Because now you've got, it's like having your track and trace app on your phone. Once you've got your vaccine passport, you're then part of their system. And that vaccine passport may potentially allow you in some ways not to travel. So forget about traveling. You're not going to be traveling. There won't be summer holidays in any recognizable format, I believe, this year outside of the UK. It may give you some provision to go to some non-essential retail outlets here in the UK. That's what your vaccine passport's going to give you. So to me, this is as I put it out, the vaccine passport will allow you to go places, but not the places that some people think. You're not going to get your 2 weeks down in, on the Spanish costas. You won't be going to Greece. Forget that. Because for that to happen, you would have to have an internationally coordinated process whereby everybody, all these different countries have agreed an agreed passport standard. I mean, that's not going to be happening. Craig says, are we allowed to ask if airport staff, publicans, shop owners have got, well, I don't know, you can ask, I doubt you'll be answered, you'll be given the answer. But yeah, so the point about the vaccine passports is that they are not a passport to freedom. They are a passport, in my view, to captivity. And yet, I suspect the British public will rush out. They'll be busting the door down to get their vaccine passports. And those like me, and perhaps you, who don't want a vaccine passport, thank you very much, we will become more isolated as a consequence of that. We will not be allowed perhaps to go to certain places. I'm not sure how that works with our human rights, but I don't think this government's that bothered about our human rights at this stage. Do you? Do you think they're that concerned? I don't. So I think they. Chris is saying, now that Dublin is out of bounds, I might have to visit all friends in Belfast. Well, Chris, if you come to Belfast and if the pubs are open, two provisors, I'd be very happy to have a pint with you. But I suspect that, we've had the suggestion that pubs won't be opening until arguably maybe April or May, and they may or may not be able to serve alcohol, and you would have to socially distance in the pubs. And I don't know if you're still going to have Scotch eggs. I'm not sure about that. But the decimation of our colour, of everything we know, but at the bequest of this government, is something else. So anyway, vaccine passports, they are coming. They will happen. This government will bring them out, and most Brits will love them, to their shame, to their eternal shame. They'll say, just like they got their masks on, as their virtue signal, they'll have a little passport. Look at me, I've got my mask on, I've got my little passport, I'm so good, I'm doing what Boris wants. All that means is Boris will make them do even more. But they can't see that. They're beyond the point of logical reasoning, unfortunately, But as I say, I do, Sue says, they were talking about, I see some of the sage scientists have been talking about continued lockdowns. And some of them have actually made it clear that even if you get your vaccine, and you have your passport, you're still going to have to wear your mask. You're still going to have to socially distance. You're still going to have to rub your hands to the point where the dermal level actually falls off. You're still going to have to do all those things. This is the whole point. It doesn't give you freedom, but it's being sold as freedom. Just like a year ago almost, you were told 3 weeks to flatten the curve. You remember that? A year ago. 3 weeks to flatten the curve. This is a government that will say and do anything to persuade you to do it at once. That's what they're going to do. Here, Matrix comes out with a really good point here. The danger comes when the jab turn on the non-jab, as it will be used to keep lockdowns. I think this is a really good point, and it's a very disturbing issue where society becomes divided, where those who have taken their vaccines and got their vaccine passports will become hostile to those of us who don't want one. Thank you very much. And you can see it now at the moment. I was in a store this morning, and of course I continue not to wear a mask. I don't need to. I'm conforming to government regulations. I am exempt. But you can see a look in some eyes of fear, I guess, in some cases. And in others, I think it's not fear. It's something else that I see in their eyes. Now, maybe that's me being over dramatic. I don't know. But I think some of them look at me scathingly. Look at him. Look at that freak. He's not wearing a mask. And that's what's happened after a year of this. People have been so conditioned, haven't they, by the government and the propaganda. The endless advertising campaigns. The one. Have you seen the current one? Look them in the eye and tell them. Yeah, I look anyone in the eye and tell them I'm doing what's right for my health. You must do what's right for your health. But you must respect my choice just as I respect your choice. So all their PR campaign, their endless propaganda, which Goebbels would be proud of, by the way. It's water off a duck's back, I guess, for a lot of it. But Chris, red crosses on the front door like the plague. I see some of your comments here. I have to be a bit careful what I put up because our good friends at YouTube and Facebook don't like us to say certain things. There's the interesting Donny Girl, our regular Hawaiian friend, has said that she met someone who's had their first shot and got sick for about 4 days, flu-like symptoms. That's normal, I guess, for taking these kind of vaccines. There's people get the flu vaccines, Donny Girl, every year, and they, because of the nature of what you're getting, it does replicate to the degree the thing that is trying to provide you with immunity from. So I understand all that. I get that. But, you know, one thing, and I've argued this out on other platforms, and I'll say it here, if it's the flu vaccine is not given to the entire population. The economy does not close down because we have a bad flu season. We don't stop people traveling. We don't take away their liberty. We don't stop them seeing their family. So why not? Well, of course, because, well, up until this point, I suspect people would not have gone with it. But because the government have hypnotized the population, the reality is that they do go with it. So listen, vaccine passports, not for me, thanks. Now, there's the next slide I wanted to bring up. Is to do with we keep hearing about the NHS, don't we? You know, how overwhelmed is the NHS by coping with all of this, you know. So if we can go to the next slide, hopefully. Yeah, have a look at this, folks. Just study this for a second. There it is. NHS, unbelievable, really, employs 49 staff for every with COVID patient in hospital tonight. Have you got that? 49 staff for every with COVID. Now, with COVID means that they could be in for another condition, but they've had a positive PCR. Therefore, they're being tested. They're being treated as if they've got COVID. And of course, some will, and some may, but some may have more serious conditions. You know, if you're dying of cancer, you could still theoretically have a COVID positive test. But anyway, 49 staff. I mean, what? I mean, so this is like roughly 4 football teams equivalent of NHS staff for every patient in hospital tonight. Does that sound to you like an efficient healthcare system? Because it doesn't sound like an efficient healthcare system to me. And you know, I see your comments, folks, about, you know, what's happening in the hospitals. I did point out that I am aware of one NHS hospital where there is one COVID patient, and that's a very elderly person. And I'm not saying what age they are, but they're very elderly and they have other comorbidities. So, you know, I mean, the thing about protecting the NHS, I disagree with. The NHS is here to protect us, not the other way around. The government has successfully inverted reality, and people are thinking, hello, Tigers Bay, by the way, thanks for being on the stream, and John and Steve. Thank you all. But yeah, NHS, you know, I'm sorry. And I saw another one, by the way. Another thing saying that, you know, the NHS staff are still being given all these deals. They're being given gift vouchers. They're being given this, that, and the other. I mean, NHS staff are on full pay, full holiday provision, no chance of them losing their jobs. None of them, certainly frontline, have been furloughed. So I'm not sure what the issue is. But as George points out here, yeah, TikTok dance routines, you know, they do require a lot of people. Maybe that's why there's 49 staff for every patient. But yeah, it's pretty horrifying, I think. But talking of horrifying, I wanted to just play a short video, which is not entirely related, but it speaks to the nature of this country. Just watch this very short video. I'm going to stick up. You may have seen it in social media. It happened, an elderly lady, I think in her mid-80s, who fell outside her house, and the postman was there. Set it up, see what happens. That's where I'm trying to touch your boots. So see that? So she's on the ground. She's elderly. She's frail. And Posty, he's just he's tired. He's just exhausted. He can't help her. What sort of a country have we become? A country where postman walks away from an elderly frail lady on the ground because he's feeling a bit tired himself. You know, a country where we tell our neighbours a country where we dab in those that we don't like because maybe they have not done something completely in sync with COVID regs? What sort of a UK have we become under this dreadful, dreadful government that needs to be thrown out of power? You're right, Donny Girl. What a jerk, you know. And of course, you know, the postal service has. Now I have to say, first, hands up. My postman is a very decent chap. He's been coming here for a long time. Does a good job. Like my, I like my postman. But one of the things I find very curious in the UK is, I went to collect a parcel today to my local post office, only to discover that the post office is open between the hours of 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. every morning. What? What's that? I mean, I went at 11. I wasn't too happy about it. Apparently, because of COVID, they can only open for 2 hours a day. Are they kidding me? Oh, I mean, what's that about? And this is the problem. I mean, you know, the post. I'm not sure where the post office staff are. I don't think there's more postmen out there because I think there may be less mail. There's certainly more parcels being delivered, but that's by, you know, the different private delivery companies such as Amazon and whatnot. So I was very sort of disturbed to see that video of the elderly lady being left on the ground. I mean, what do you? I don't even know what to say about that, other than it disgusts me. And you know, as Nick says, seriously, how can you walk on by? I couldn't, you know, if I saw anyone, wouldn't have to be elderly particularly, but obviously that makes it even more important. The natural, doesn't matter how tired I am, I've got enough energy, I'm sure he had as well, to give her a hand up and get her on her feet. So anyway, I mean, I know it's made national news and I'm sure he will be reprimanded, but I don't think he loses his job. And, you know, it does make me wonder what sort of people are employed by the post office. Yeah, Louise says, once upon a time, Posty knew everyone in his rounds and he would notice if Mrs. Brown hadn't taken her milk. Yeah, that's right. I mean, I do think postmen provide a valuable service and I really appreciate my postman. I really didn't appreciate this postman, and the response from it has been embarrassment by the post office. And again, this is where modern technology comes into it. Only somebody videoed that, you know, with their using their mobile phone. She would have just lain there until, I don't know, that someone else came across her. But yes, Sue, it is unbelievable that these things can happen in this country, and it does worry me what sort of a country, you know, we've become, where people can behave in this manner. So, you know, so that was there was that, and then I guess sort of just finally, I suppose, to say that I am at the point now, I don't know about you folks, but I find that the less media you watch, the better. The mainstream media, to my mind, sorry, Simon's corrected me. I refer to a postman where it's, and Simon rightly points out, let me bring it up, Simon. It's a post person. Crazies will be after you for using a gender. Yes, a post person of whatever gender or no gender, or indeed fluid gender that they may wish to have. Yes, we have to be really important we use the right language. But yeah, if the more media you watch, the more psyops is successful in persuading you of things which may or may not be true. And that's why Sue says, don't watch TV news at all. You're very wise. I think, you know, it's not helpful. It's really, really not helpful. In fact, as we've gone through what will soon be a year, we've had a year of this. A year of our lives has been lost to this pandemic and the government's response to the pandemic. I think, you know, it is reasonable to sort of ask, well, what role did the media have? And the media's role at the moment, the press and the TV, is to simply amplify the messaging of government. But that means that then nobody gets to challenge the messaging of government. And I want to challenge the messaging of government in those areas where I think it should be challenged. In other areas, I would be supportive of messaging of government. But this government, I have no time for at all. For example, again, just today, did you see the economic figures coming out of the UK today? So we've just suffered the worst drop in GDP since 1709. Now, when I say 1709, I don't mean 10 past 5. No, I mean the 17th century, 1709 AD. So that's the worst in what, 300 years? And it's all because of the pandemic. No. It's because of the way the governments responded to the pandemic. That's the point. Responsibility for the economic devastation, the apocalyptic reduction of whole swathes of our economy is totally at the hands of Boris Johnson and his administration. So shouldn't we be allowed to challenge that? Shouldn't we be allowed to say, well, whilst accepting that we had a need to deal with a pandemic, did we really have to? But given the fact that, and again, I saw this, 40% of cases are in hospitals, and the other 30%, another 30% are in care, 34% are in care homes. So 74% of all COVID cases are either in hospitals or in care homes. And of the balance that's in the community, that's overwhelmingly in the elderly, frail demographic group. So why are we all locked down? Why are the pubs closed? Why are the restaurants closed? Why are the cinemas closed? Why is hospitality and tourism basically put in a deep chill? So, these are questions. Matrix says local radio is even worse. I never ever listen to local radio as a rule, Matrix. I couldn't take that. But as I say, I try to avoid all of it, and I actually find it helps my mental strength. It helps me because I'm never going to learn anything positive. All I'm ever going to hear is negative stuff from it. So there's a lot of professions there that Craig mentions. I see who we won't respect again. I mean, I wouldn't go so strong as to say we will never respect them again. But police officers, teachers, NHS, journalists, medical profession. Have these people excelled themselves in our hour of need? I don't think so. I mean, we've seen that. I'm sure you all saw that example of the, was it Mersey Police arresting a young mother and her daughter. She'd taken her daughter to the beach. She'd driven 7 miles from home. Did you see that? I mean, does that do anything? Yeah, Andy makes a really good point. I'm sure you've seen this meme. There's a meme where the man asks the Mormon gent, why is COVID not affecting your community? The Mormon replies, we don't have televisions. I think it might have been Amish actually, but yeah, Andy, there's a really good point that meme. Memes often make the best points, don't they? I love memes, absolutely love them. Julie French says, get up off your knees, people, wake up and stand up. Well, certainly, Julie, the police have become extremely problematical during this. It seems to have given them, they've turned from being an organization which I think many of us respected to be an organization that is increasingly like bully boy thugs, and it's really not. It's not been helpful the way the police have performed, and all those teachers who don't want to teach. Again, yeah, the COVID Stasi, Chris calls them, and a lot of people may have sympathy with that view, Chris. I certainly would like to see the police reappraise their priorities at the moment. You know, their priorities should not be seeking to give out fines to mums taking their daughters to a pretty much empty beach for the day. But that is, yes, I agree, Julie, they are behaving really very badly. Absolutely, completely agree with that. And I find that very problematical. And, you know, it's one of these things that we can discuss in another stream. But yeah, Tiger Spy, I agree. You can spin up a few comments here before we finish. People must stand their ground and fight back or they will lose everything. Yeah, I mean, I believe that that's true, but I also believe that so many have bought into this that it's going to be such an uphill battle. Don't want to be negative, but you know, when I see people walking about, as I did this morning, I was in a little local town centre very early, and the people were wearing their masks in the street, in the open, in the car. I saw people do this. They were mostly elderly people, but there was younger ones as well. And you just think to yourself, what's happened is people have internalized the fact that wearing masks is normal. It's normal to wear your mask, indoors, outdoors, wherever. That's normal. What's not normal is to be like this. And like you watch, I'm sure none of you is wearing a mask, wearing this, or watching this. And that's normal. But we're getting to the point. I saw somebody saying also that we're getting these little splintering of groups. I understand there's groups now on Facebook, which is a difficult channel, where for those who have had inoculations. So the jabbed can come together in their little group and talk together. Well, maybe we should set up such groups for those who haven't had inoculations. I wonder how Facebook would respond to that. I think I know. Saying that Sir Graham Brady has said on government, he said on talk radio that government works for us. Nah, he may have said that, Julie, but it doesn't. Government works for government, and whichever interests that government follows is all that matters to politicians. So, like, folks, Chris says, what's happened to John Gaunt? He's lost the plot. Haven't seen John for a while, Chris, so I don't know what John's up to. I know he got quite pro-vaccination, pro-mask wearing. There's a lot of people. I think there are some of us, though, who won't be bowing the knee, and we won't be, submitting to things that we don't, frankly, necessarily have any confidence in. It would be wrong to. Steve's right, by the way. Stephen says, get off Facebook and Twitter. Well, you should get off Facebook and Twitter. I think I use. I'm not on Twitter, as you know, and Facebook I use sparingly. Having said that, Stephen, it is very helpful for live streaming such as this. A few final comments from you folks. Nick says, walking around town, Tesco's, wherever, people have been so conditioned. Yeah, absolutely right. In Hawaii, we can have medical excuse not to wear the masks. Same here, Donny girl. We can claim to be exempt from wearing a mask on a list of sort of medical grounds. It's in government regulations. I always advise everyone to familiarize themselves with government regulations. And if you think you have exemption, then your right is not to wear a mask. I have seen quite a few shops, by the way, saying that, Stephen, you're right, by the way, about how the monetarization of Facebook and Twitter. Fully agree with you on that. I've seen people, who wander around, who have got this strange thing in their head that they just have to be masked all the time. What a strange society we're coming to. But I think this society will stay a masked society. It will stay socially distanced, and life is not going to be recognizable. That's why the vaccine passports are a laughable idea in many ways, and again discriminatory, because what if someone cannot have the vaccine? There may be medical reasons. Does that person never travel again? Nick says John seems to have been a YouTube influencer. Well, as I said, I haven't spoken to John in a while. Always happy to have him on the show if he wants to come on, though. But I don't think we would agree on certainly these issues. I know I was going to say, Donny girl. So in the UK, you can claim exemption on medical grounds, and on the basis of that, you don't have to wear a mask. But I would suggest that's about, 0.5% of the population, and 99% of the population wear their masks. Some final comments. Matrix says, it won't, David, just hang on, they'll lose this war. Hope you're right. Julie says, I don't wear one. I just ignore anyone who calls out to me about it. The lone driver, Well, the lone drivers with the masks, Julie, are one of God's wonders. I have no idea what that's about. I can't even speak to their mindset at all. But anyway, look, folks, I know it's getting late on a Friday evening for me anyway. So I wanted to finish the week by, first of all, thanking you all very much for coming on the stream. Please make sure you subscribe to my Bitchute video channel and my Rumble one as well. So I've got reasonable numbers of followers over there. But I suspect a lot of people are watching through YouTube. But YouTube's a bit problematical. So I will be doing exclusive videos on Bitchute and also on Rumble. So just make sure you subscribe to the two of those. Of course, you can get me in Gab. Glad to see I've gone through the 20,000 number over on Gab. So good to see all those people over there. So I hope you are following me on Gab, by the way, because if you do, you'll get a stream of consciousness from me every day. So let me see. I think, yes, just before we go, I've got a meme. Let's just finish on a meme. I said I love meme. Stick up the meme that we've got. This got, what is it, Andrea Turner into trouble, where she I think she retweeted this. This meme. You can make it out for yourself, folks. Put a mask on. You're putting my health at risk, says the 30-stone lady to an otherwise healthy young lady who isn't wearing a mask. And it does kind of sum up the insanity of these times, doesn't it? I always think memes are great because they make the point so so ferociously clear. And you all get it. Everyone laughs at it. It's funny, but it makes a really good point. But I think is it Piers Morgan Piers Morgan has had a go at Anthea Turner, who I think retweeted that meme we've just stuck up. So I'd say good for her, actually. I think she's apologized. Big mistake. If there's one lesson I've learned on all my time on social media, never apologize. Never apologize. Because once you do that, they know you're weak and they will come back for you. Yes, you can make mistakes. I've made mistakes. Have I said things I regret? Of course I have. Everyone does. Everyone does. But you just move on. You know, if someone has had caused personal affront by something I've said, they can talk to me privately and we can have that conversation. But I'm not apologizing to the world for what I think and what I feel. And she shouldn't be apologizing for sharing that meme. It's a good meme. Listen, yeah, Louise is Louise says this. She apologized. And she should never have. Yeah, absolutely right, Louise. Never apologize. That's what they want you to do. And I'm not going to apologize. Right, folks. Listen, I've overstayed my time. I didn't plan to be on, but we always have such good chat that these things take a little bit more time. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Do make sure you subscribe to all those channels. Make sure you give as many thumbs up as possible before the end of the show. How often can you hit a thumbs up? I don't know. You've got 30 seconds to do it before I go. But it drives the algorithms mad, and that helps us, and it confuses those platforms who would want to suppress us. So that's what you need to do. So if you do all that, folks, can I wish you all a really good weekend. I'm sure you'll see a couple of little short videos from me over the weekend. I'm due a blanket of snow tomorrow. So if I'm snowbound, you can be sure that if I've got nothing else to do and there's a video camera like this around, I'll be on to talk to you about whatever tomorrow's topics du jour are. But in the meantime, thanks a lot, folks. Great to see you here. Thanks for supporting me. I really, really appreciate it. And catch up with you all on the next planned live stream, which is going to be Monday night at 8 p.m. In the meantime, mahalo. I hope I pronounced that right. But anyway, yes, goodbye, everybody, and see you all real soon. Bye for now.